The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. Sing it again, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness.
Well, hello everybody. It's really nice to see you and to come into your home. I'm sorry that I can't physically see you, but nonetheless it's really good to talk to you. I couldn't start without first of all thanking you for all your love and prayers and support that I and Moira and Helena and Tim have received over recent months, in that, as I'm sure as just about everybody knows, I haven't been very well and spent 10 days in Lincoln County Hospital with COVID. I'm now lots better. I'm back at work. I'm hopefully almost fully fit and fully recovered. But I would like to thank you for all your love and prayers. I also just wanted to start by just reflecting on a couple of verses that really supported me whilst I was in hospital. The worst times in hospital I found were in the middle of the night, where I'd kind of look at my watch and it would say something like 10 to 3, and I'd leave it for what I thought was a very long time. I'd look again and it'd be about 3:05. And the nights really seemed to drag on, and sometimes it was really difficult. And I was reminded of a verse that I could never quite pinpoint, but I think it's from Psalm 130, where it says, "I wait for the Lord more than watchmen wait for the morning." And I could never think where it came from. So I was pleased when I got back home and I looked it up. I was also quite pleased when it does just say, "I wait for the Lord more than watchmen wait for the morning," because I thought I was missing a bit. But the idea of kind of waiting for the night to go is really difficult if you're in pain and difficulty. So that really supported me. The other verse that kept coming to mind is probably one of my favourite Bible verses, from Lamentations. "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies, they never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." And that was a real help to me. And again, it speaks of the morning. But since I got home, having had time on my hands, in that I was off work for a few weeks, I kind of got led to looking at the Old Testament a little bit, and some of those prophecies that we don't often look at. And I was reading the other day from Zechariah. Now, Zechariah is one of those, is he a minor prophet? Is he a major prophet? He's actually quoted quite a lot in the New Testament. And it's not a particularly easy book to have a read at. It's a series of visions given to the prophet Zechariah by God when the people of Israel were in exile, and God was prompting them through the prophecies of Zechariah to go back to Jerusalem and to rebuild the city, and in particular to rebuild the temple. And I was thinking that my kind of vision, my portrait of Jerusalem as this magnificent city, full of houses and castles and gardens and of course the temple, and it is really a splendid sight, where, as in fact during the Old Testament and indeed the New Testament, Jerusalem is in ruins probably more than it is a built city, in that Jerusalem is a regional capital and it suffered wave after wave after wave of invasion, and the city would be reduced to rubble. And on several occasions in the Old Testament, the people are taken into exile. So here we have the vision, the prophecy of Zechariah. And there were just some things that kind of really touched my heart, which I thought that I would share with you. And if you look at Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel. Now, I don't know why anybody in the Old Testament can't just be called Stan or something like that, but Zerubbabel is going to be the governor of Jerusalem. And the word of the Lord to him is not by might nor by power, but my spirit, says the Lord Almighty. And then he says, Zerubbabel, you will build the temple. And then he looks into the future and he says, then he will bring out the capstone. Now the capstone is sort of the finishing stone, the finishing brick of the entire city, to shout that God will bless it. God will bless it. So there's no pressure on Zerubbabel, is there? Then the word of the Lord came to me. The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundations, and his hands will also complete it. Then you will know that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. And then this is the bit that I'd just like us to think about. God says to Zechariah, who dares despise the day of small things? Now I think in context what he was alluding to, referring to, was the fact that you can only rebuild a city one brick at a time. And the idea of starting, that very starting point to rebuild the city, is really quite important, isn't it? On the basis you've got to start somewhere, so you start with those foundations and those first bricks. And maybe the people of Israel and Zerubbabel were stood there thinking, gosh, we've made a start, but there is so much to do. And when I was thinking about the day of small things, again, I reflected on the fact that since I came home, I've really been blessed by small things, like my own bed, being able to look out the window, being able to wear my own clothes, being able to breathe. All of these things are taken for granted, aren't they? Until you lose them. They are small things, but so important. And I've also been blessed by the small things that you have done for me as my church family. All the cards that I received and the telephone calls and the jam and the chutney and the biscuits and the buns and the meals and the cakes. I felt really blessed. So thank you for what maybe to you was a small gift, but to me it was really important. And I just want to close really by thinking about small things and our church. And just to return really to a comment that I made a minute ago about Jerusalem. You can only build a church, a fellowship, a worshipping community, one brick at a time. Now, I'm not suggesting that we are physically building a building, but we need to always be very careful to build our church family and our church. And as a church, we need to have an aspiration, an ambition to do great things, but we need to get those small things in place. Our worship, our building, our relationships with one another, our relationships with other churches and with the world in which we live, which is really hurting at the moment, our giving, our prayer life, our house groups, and so on. All of those things need to be in order. And there are a huge number of small but vitally important component parts that need to come together to form a healthy church. And as many of you know, we have just elected a new leadership team and a new church council. And certainly it's my intention as a lay worker to work with the leadership team to look at all of those things that I have just mentioned. And again, to repeat myself, we need to be careful to build our church, especially in difficult times when we are not physically able to meet together. And it is difficult in that we can't meet together, in that I know that you, like me, would love to be able to go into the building at Charles Street and to have a service. And at the moment, I'm afraid that is not possible. But if we do think about the small things, and we do think about the opportunities that God has given us, I'm sure that we will emerge from COVID fighting fit. So from my home to you, God bless you, God keep you, and thank you for your love and for your concern.
The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. Sing it again, the steadfast. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great